Hey guys, how you doing? Erik Colvin here. Wanted to post a quick little video for all you mill turners out there, folks that like to turn your mill into a lathe, into a CNC lathe. I learned a lot from some other videos already on YouTube. Jason Hughes comes to mind. Had a really great tip about modifying your post processor. I am actually using a Tormach CNC 770 and of course Pathpilot. Let me flip this around. So here's my setup. I got 4 lathe tools mounted in my vise with a little repeatable jig system that I whipped up, and then this gang block that I put together with some drills, a little boring bar, threading, inside threading bar, and Pathpilot. So the situation is that, you know, in Pathpilot, with all these gang tools, what's great about the lathe, what's great about using your mill as a lathe is that, you notice I don't have an automatic tool changer and no power drawbar. So I'm completely manual when it comes to the mill. When it comes to the lathe, I can, in one single setup, use all of these tools without having to change my setup and have a complete part made, or two, depending on how much stock I have mounted in the spindle. As you know, when you're mill turning, instead of having the tool in the spindle, you got your stock in the spindle. And then over here in Pathpilot, if we go to our offsets, Pathpilot gives you 9 work coordinate systems, work offsets, from G54 to G59, then you get G59.1, G59.2, G59.3, and this is great because each of those 9 correspond to the tip of the tool for each of my 9 tools that are all ganged up here. And typically the way you would set this, let's go to our 1/2-inch drill, and that for me is G59.1. So I'm going to go over to the MDI line and I'm going to type in G59.1, right? And then I'm going to type in G0, X0, Y0. Excuse me, that's XY. X0, Y0. One thing you want to make sure is that your spindle actually is all the way up before you start rapiding around on your mill with all these tools sticking out like this. So once again, we're going to go G0, X0, Y0. It's going to bring us, center us over that drill. And now, here's the next part. I've got my 1/4-inch chamfer mill because it has a nice point on it for lining up these tools and setting my offsets. For me, that's tool 29. If we go over to offsets and we go to tool 29, 1/4-inch chamfer mill. Now I've already set the height on this and I can trust it. This is important. You got to make sure that you tell it that tool 29 is in the spindle, just like you would when you were milling. We're going to come back over here to our main line, and it says that we're 4.821 inches away from Z0, and for me Z0 is the tip of this tool, is the tip of this drill. Let's find out how close we are. Well, we're spot on, I can assure you. So I'm just going to type in Z0. Sometimes you don't have to type the G0 in, and we're going to put it to the test. Look at that. So now I'll take a piece of paper, stick it behind it, just to verify that we're spot on. Now that's like 1/1000ths away from that, just for this demonstration. I didn't want anyone to have a heart attack. So I've gone and done this for every tool that I have. Let's go to our general facing turning tool, the CNMG insert here. And so that for me is G54. Remember, we go over to our offsets. Right now we're on G59.1. We want to go to G54. Let's go to our main, go to our MDI input field, and we type G54. Again, let me escape out of there. I'm going to wrap it up first, get my spindle out of the way. Then we're going to go X0, Y0. That's just going to get us there. Now, just, you know, for the sake of, this is my chamfer mill and I don't want the tip blunted just in case I'm off. So I'm just going to, type in Z1. It's going to put us 1 inch away from this tool. Come into focus here. Excuse my finger. Alright, so I'm pretty much feeling confident about that. Let's just bring it down in thousandths. So that's got us within 1,000th. Let's come down in 10 thousandths. And then let's just come down in, if you can see that there. Sorry about the finger, the pinky. So that's got us within, it says 10 thou. So we're just going to come down in thousandths. And that is my 0, 0. Now granted, on this insert, because of its radius and because I want to make sure the front edge of this insert is X0, it looks as though it's not spot on, but if that didn't have a radius, that would in fact be 0. I don't know if this is the right way to go about that. So far it's been working out for me. Again, I'm new to this. I've only had this mill for a few months, and here I am, turned it into a lathe already. Anywho, so I've done this for every tool, both in the vise and in this gang block. Every tool has an X0, Y0, and Z0 offset. Now, most guys are saying, well, your X and Y, you know, that's good to repeat that, but your Z is going to be constantly changing because of the stock that you have in the spindle. So once you chuck up your stock, you're going to have to reset your Z for every tool position. And I say not so, because that would be a pain in the butt to do every time. So here's what I do. I'm going to show you in a minute. Let's just wrap it out of here. I'm going to change up this tool to what I use for turning, which is this guy right here. This is a 3-jaw chuck, a 4-inch 3-jaw chuck, whose back plate has an R8 taper on it. So I'm going to take out the Tormach R8 spindle adapter, and we're going to mount this up in there. Alright, I'll be right back. Alright, so now I got this 3-jaw chuck with the R8 spindle mounted up in the Tormach. I got some stock in there. This is 2.125 OD. And for those of you that are interested, these jaws are inside out and I've modified them. I've ground the backs off of them so that this is the biggest OD that I'm turning on this machine, and I just didn't want these sticking out. Just felt it was a little safer. Plus it gives me the clearance I need to get in and around all these tools as we're moving around here. So anywho, on to what I was saying. So now here's where normally we would set up our Z for each of these tools now that we have our stock in it. So let's go ahead and do our G54 location, which again is the second tool in here, the CNMG. So I'm just going to make sure that the machine knows that that's the system that we're going to zero in here. So G54, all right. Let's do a X0, Y0, and we're, well, already there. So now, here's the thing, and this is another tip I picked up from Jason Hughes, and that is, I'm using Fusion 360, and you have to tell Fusion that your tool is the same tool for each operation. I'm using tool 50, I think that's the same one Jason used. So I need to go over here and tell Pathpilot that tool 50 is in the spindle. And if we go over here and look at my tool offsets, you're going to see I've named tool 50 spindle turning. So every operation, whether it be facing turning, whether it be a profile, a thread, or a cutoff, any of these drilling things, they're always tool 50 in Fusion, and you have to go in once you set up your do your setup and set up your first operation. You go in there, you modify the tool, you go to post process in the tool tab, you change that tool to 50. You do that to all your turning tools. So now here's where things get interesting. I'm going to come down here and I'm just going to jog down first and get close. Got to forgive me because I am doing this with one hand here. And so I'm going to get close. I'm actually going to come out onto the outside edge of this stock because sometimes I like to rotate it and find the lowest point. So I'm going to use the paper method, old school, right? But I'm going to get a little closer first. This has come down in thousandths. I don't need to go crazy. Okay, so we're pretty close here. Let's come down one more thousandth, all right? Let's slip our paper in here. And now we're going to come down in 10 thousandths. Still got plenty of clearance there. I'm just going to do another tenth. I don't want to dull the edge of this tool, but of course the paper's going to help with that. Okay, so now we're pretty close. Let's come down in thousandths. In fact, let's turn the chuck by hand and see, because you know my cutoff saw works well, but it's not necessarily. So that seems to be about the lowest spot there, the most stick out. Come down a little bit more. And we're just binding. I'm going to come down 2 more thousandths. Okay, so now I've got this tool is just touching the workpiece. Now normally, you know, I'm on G54. That's my turning tool. Normally, what most folks would do at this point is zero their Z on their DRO. And they would then go to their G55 and do the same thing, their G56, and all of these different positions. And every time you put a new piece of stock in there, you got to do that. And I think that's a pain in the butt. Instead, what we're going to do is this. We're not going to zero our Z out of the DRO. We're going to go switch on the tool tab in our offsets tab, okay? Switch on the tool tab. We got tool 50 in the spindle. Pathpilot knows it's tool 50. It's highlighted blue. There's no mistake. Instead of zeroing our Z, watch what we're going to do. We're going to touch Z. Notice that whatever stock I had in there last time was 4.7107. Watch what happens to the length of this, and watch what happens to our Z DRO without me having to touch it, just by touching Z. So we touch Z, come out here. Sorry, it's shaky. My hands are shaky. All right, I've touched Z. Our tool length is now 3.9394, and lo and behold, our Z is at 0. Now, since we've done this to the quote-unquote tool, Pathpilot thinks that, well, that's the length of the tool. So let's see how that affects our other offsets. Let's go back to our half-inch drill here. So first thing we're going to do is wrap it up in Z all the way. Make sure we got clearance if we're going to be jogging around with all these tools sticking out. We're going to go to our main, our MDI line, and again my offset position for my half-inch is G59.1. Type that into the MDI, hit enter. Let's go X0, Y0. That's going to center us over that tool. Alright. And here's the moment of truth. Z0. Can you all see that? This works for every tool on this block. Let's go to our boring bar. Wrap it up. Boring bar is G59.2. Back to our MDI line. Now, I don't have to do this. I'm just testing it to show you guys. Like, normally you would just set your Z on your first tool, your G54. It should be something that has, you know, that sticks out above the rest of the tool. It's kind of hard to do it with this tool, but because we know that it works, and I've already done this tool with the chamfer mill, we have no problem. This is Z0, this is Z0, this is Z0, and so on and so forth. This is Z0, so we did, let's check our offset. We are G59.1, we need to be G59.2. G59.2. Okay, now we're gonna X0, Y0. Now we're gonna come down. Now, did I check this with the chamfer mill? Normally when I start a day of mill turning, I will throw that chamfer mill in there and creep up on each of these just to make sure that I'm good. You know, I'm still a little cautious about it. So it says we're 4.623 away. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna wrap it down at first. Let's get close. There we go. Okay, so now it says we're just over 1,000 or 100 thou. Come down. See that? Can you guys see that? All right. We're going to come down another 10. And we're going to come down our 9. You can see the reflection in the steel there. So, again, I did this on the outside edge of the stock. You do see a tiny little bit of clearance there, which is fine. But I did this on the outside edge of the stock and found the part of the stock that was sticking out the lowest, since this is a rough cutoff on a 14-inch cutoff saw. So there you go. Instead of having to do this for each tool, all you have to do is do it for one tool. In your offsets, make sure you're at the tool that you think you're at. In my case, I did G54. I could have done it off of the that boring bar, and instead of touching Z, you're going to go to your tool. Instead of zeroing your Z with each new piece of work stock chucked up on each tool, each time you have to change out your stock, all you're going to do is do it once. You're going to not zero your Z here, not here, but you're going to do it here, and make sure you tell it that you got your spindle turning tool, which is your work. Make sure Pathpilot knows that. Tool 50, tool 50. You're going to touch Z, boom, that's going to zero your DRO, and it's going to change your tool length, and then you'll be able to just run your whole cycle by only doing this once with the first workpiece. If I had more stock sticking out of here, say enough to do 2 parts, then after I parted off the first one, I would just repeat the process with my first tool at G54, touch off a new Z, and then that would be my new tool length. You know, we'd come down, it would be shorter. Just a little tip, picking up where some of the other folks have left off. Oh, here's one other thing. Okay, I'm new to this video stuff. Again, I apologize for the shaky video. I apologize for my fingers getting in the way. But what I wanted to tell you that in order for this to work, okay, so I got this part. I'm on the cam side of Fusion. I got this part that I'm working on. When you do your setups for each operation, your stock, the offset, I'm offsetting from the front piece, the front of the work piece. Your offset has to be the same. In other words, Z0 in your cam has to be the same for each operation. You know, my face profile, my spot drill, my 1/4-inch drill, 1/2-inch drill. My offset is 0.04, and you'll notice as I flip, I'm going to hit OK. You see that my Z0, I'm gonna hit my spot drill operation. Same. I got the same offset. It has to be the same. Even though with the spot drill I don't need that 4/10, I have to leave it there because the first operation, the face profile, you know, I had to have something to face off. You just keep it the same for each operation for that part. And then this will work brilliantly. All right, that's it. Oh yeah. My shop is in my recording studio. I know it's a bit odd. I've sacrificed one of my ISO booths for my nano shop. More on that if you want it. All right, take care, guys. All right, now what kind of guy would I be if I didn't show you a little action? Here we go. you.